Hi everyone. In the earlier video, we have printed some text on the screen, right? Which is sample random text with a white color with a background blue color, right? And it is printing 23 characters. Okay. So the problem is we don't want the blue color, rather we want some transparent color, right? So that's what we will try to discuss today. Okay. So now I will jump back to the code. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, so I'm going to create a one function, okay, which is similar to this PrintXY. Okay, so what I will do, so I will copy this, okay, and here I will scroll to the top, okay. So here I'm going to create that same function and the arguments remains the same. So yeah, so I'm going to return the status, okay. And now the point text we will take and point y we will take, foreground, background color we will take, and now we will make it as mandatory. Okay, and then instead of a format, so we are going to take the a string. Okay, so now yes, so graphics output protocol. So these three dots are not needed. Okay, so now for now, what I'm going to do, so I'm going to always return EFI underscore success. Okay, so now so here probably I'm going to call this as um, print char by char. So we are going to print one character by character. Okay. So now I will scroll down and I will call that function. Okay. So here we used to call the XY function, right? So now here I will call the print char by char, and probably here I will print the status. Okay. So print char by char status is equal to percentage R and then status. Okay. So now the argument probably I will start with 30 comma 30 as X and Y. Okay, and now the text color I want the white color. Okay, so and then the background color we are not going to use, but for now let's try to pass it as a blue color. Okay, and what characters we wanted to print. So now let's try to print the same characters. Okay, so now let's go back to this function. Okay, so now if the string is null, we will simply return unsupported or invalid parameter. Okay, so if string is equal to null, then return EFI invalid parameter. Okay, so now let's initialize the variable which is a status, EFI underscore status, which will be a status. Okay, and then let's initialize. We need to since we are going to print character by character, we need to know what is the length of this character. Okay, so uint n, and this I'm going to call this as a string length. Okay, and then we need a for loop, right? So probably here I'm going to create a uint n, and then I'm going to create a variable called index. Okay, so now we checked for the status, sorry, we checked for the string whether it is null or not, right? So now if it is not null, let's try to calculate the string length. Okay, so string length is equal to, okay, so now we have an API called string length. Okay, uh, str string length. Okay, and here we are going to pass the string characters, and then here. So now what exactly it is going to accept? It is going to accept the string, and it is going to return the length of that string, where it going to ends with this /0, which is end of the characters. Okay, so now we got the string length, right? So now let's iterate through each of the string. Okay, so now for index is equal to 0, where we will start the index with 0, and if index our string length. Okay, and then every time we are going to increment the index. Okay, so now we can access this string characters one by one. Okay, so now we need to hold some buffer for that string, right? So here I'm going to create that buffer EFI underscore graphics BLT pixel. Okay, and here I will call this as a character buffer. Okay, and now this character buffer every time I'm going to assign. Okay, so now this character buffer we have to allocate the pool of the memory for each and every character, correct? So now allocate 0 pool. Okay, and now we since we are using our glyphins text, right? So it is having its own default height and width. So that's what we are going to use. If you are using the different font, then you have to be making sure that you have to assign the right buffer. Okay, so EFI glyph height into EFI glyph width into the size of our graphics pixel operation. Okay, so size of EFI graphics output BLT pixel. Okay, and if the character buffer, if it is null, so then we will simply return, okay, as out of resource. If char buffer is equal to null, then we will simply return out of resource EFI out of resource. And now let's read the buffer information. So earlier we have used the API called video to BLT buffer, right? So to read the current buffer. Okay, so I will copy this and I will reuse it to avoid the time. Okay, so read the current character buffer. Okay, so now the x-axis and the y-axis, right? So probably here I'm going to align the document. Okay, so now I need to provide this is the buffer, right? So this buffer is my character buffer. Okay, and I'm going to store this character buffer with the character where I wanted to print. Okay, so now where we wanted to print. So now we will start with our x-axis, right, which is our point x. So I'm going to start with a point x plus. So now I have to print the string one after the other, right? So I'm going to use this index into. Okay, so now what is the width of the each character? Okay, so EFI glyph width. Okay, so now which means I'm going to start one character first. Okay, so I need to know where that character needs to be started, which is coming as an input argument. Okay, so now which means I'm going to assume I'm going to start with here, and then in the first character index will be 0, so I'm going to print that character here. In the next point, the index will be 1, so that will gives me the width. So here, from here I'm going to jump to the next character. Okay, so now the width, the y-axis is just a point y. Okay, and now this destination x and destination y, which is in this character buffer, it will be 0 0. And now what is the height and width of that this character? So here the width is glyph width. Okay, and EFI glyph height, glyph height. Okay, so now I'll format the document. So now we have read the current buffer characters, correct? So now here let's assume the status. Okay, so if the status is a failure, then we will simply return. Okay, so if error EFI underscore error of an status, then we will simply return status. Okay, and then before we return the status, we have to free pull the temporary buffer which we have created. Okay, so free pull, what is that buffer? This buffer is nothing but our character buffer. Okay, So now we read the uh, buffer of a character where we wanted to read the data. Okay. So now once we have that buffer, I need to I need to override the characters on top of it, correct? So now here I'm going to create a temporary characters. Okay. Now I'm going to call that same API which we used to call earlier, which is this PrintXY. Okay. So I'm going to copy this API. Okay. And then I will scroll above, and here I will call that same function. Okay. So now instead of uh, 20 or 20, right? So now we need to provide the actual X and Y. Okay. So now what is the actual X and Y? This is my actual X and Y, which is point X plus index I have into width. Okay. So I'm going to replace this with this. Okay. And now what is the Y position? So this point Y is not going to change. So I'm going to give this as a point Y. Okay. And what is the color which I wanted? So I wanted that color, which is this foreground color. Okay. And then I need to pass the string characters. Okay. So here buffer. So this in the background color, which is this blue color, right? So instead of blue color, we wanted this buffer, which contains the background of that information. Okay. And here address. And now I'm going to call this, instead of printing this entire string, I'm going to call this current temp character. Okay. And now let's use the same variable to know whether it is getting printed or not every time. Okay. So here uint n. Okay. And here, and then let's print it. Okay. And now once this is done, okay. So now once we print the characters, we don't need this character buffer anymore. We are going to free up that buffer. Okay. So now let's build it. Okay, so we got an error in line number 203. So PrintXY is taking the different arguments. Okay, so it is pointed to pointer. Let's see. Yeah, here. Now I will build it again. Okay, so we ran into another error. So allocate zero pool. So too many actual parameters. Okay, let's see. Sorry, this is not the comma. This should be a star, which is multiplication operator. Okay, so now I will run the WinHost. Now I will keep this serial console side by side. I will run the gop sample driver. Yep. So now it is getting overlap, right? So maybe it's because the previous character. So maybe let me change the X and Y. Maybe here I'm going to use, suppose say 70 and 70. Okay. I will run again. Okay. So now I will run the again. Gop sample driver. Okay, so now we can see the clear sample random text, which is clearly visible, right, with a transparent color, right? So now here, if I closely observe, it is not fully transparent. Okay, so what I meant by fully not transparent, so what I'm going to trying to increase the length of this character here. Yes, so probably here A B C D F H I J K L M P R S T V W X Y Z. Okay, I just increase the length of these characters. Okay, so now I will build it again. Okay, so now I will run the WinHost again. Top sample driver. Okay. So now if you closely observe the character H and this character O, right? So it is getting a distorted a bit. Okay. So what exactly it is happening is it is going to read one color and that entire color will be used as a background color. If there are multiple pixels within multiple colors, then this method will not be used. Okay. So in the next video, we will try to print one character at a time by making sure that it is not having the similar issue what we have observed here, where the entire background pixel will be having one color. So that's it for today. Thank you.